70% of Americans are taking at least one prescription drug every day. And nobody knows this more than Martin Shkreli, formerly of Turing Pharmaceuticals, because one day Martin decided to raise the cost of Daraprim, an antifungal drug, by nearly 5,000%. As a result, women, babies, and many people with HIV went untreated. Irresponsible companies are taking advantage of the lack of competition in niche markets, and as a result, millions are suffering. After a preliminary investigation, internal documents at Turing revealed that the price increase would have resulted in a $375 million profit. In fact, after a hearing on June 6, 2016, Shkreli wrote on social media, "I'm one of the most successful pharma entrepreneurs ever." For pharmaceuticals, success has been measured by maximizing shareholder value at the expense of patient care. In the end, the disgusting reality is that all American pharmaceuticals currently charge whatever the market will bear, at the expense of public health. Americans should no longer bear the burden of high-priced prescription drugs. It costs a lot to be sick in America, and recently Dr. Leonard Schultz of Sloan Memorial Kettering Hospital told Leslie Stahl during an interview on 60 Minutes that business tactics set drug prices artificially high. He said drugs introduce financial toxicity because most people paying for cancer are forced into bankruptcy due to the price of their care. This problem has been in place for decades, so much so that in fact some pharmaceutical companies even have resorted to the argument that high prices are simply a tradition. This tradition is that the high retail prices also are directly correlated with the cost of research and development. Martin immediately used this argument as his chief defense, despite the subsequent findings of a substantial private margin. The tradition of Big Pharma is to not directly reveal the precise costs of development for any drug. In this way, actual development costs are hidden or somewhat deceptive. In 2012, though, $68 billion was reported to be spent on drug companies on research and development. This represented only 14% revenue of the total revenue. This is a fabulous return for shareholders. Another part of the traditional farm argument is that Americans need to bear the lion's share of research and development costs. Why? They claim that this is why Nexium costs $200 in the U.S., $60 in Switzerland, and only $23 in the Netherlands. The reality is, American pharmaceuticals do the most harm to Americans. By 2012, many Americans were already forced to reduce prescription costs by a variety of methods. Almost 8% did not take the medicines as prescribed. Almost 16% asked for a doctor for cheaper medicine. Almost 2% purchased a drug in another country. This has got to stop. 4.2% sought alternative therapies. In 2014, a record number of marvelous breakthroughs occurred in specialty drugs and orphan drugs. These drugs would have never been approved by the FDA previously, but miracles happened in that year. But at the expense of consumers. They carried huge price tags. For example, the hepatitis C cures cost $84,000 per patient. Orkambi, a cystic fibrosis drug, costs $259,000 per year. And some people even paid $300,000 a year for new cancer drugs. When Americans are already cutting corners in every imaginable way to afford their medications, how are they to reap the benefits of any new innovation? What can be done? First, we need to rapidly approve generics and biosimilars especially when companies are taking advantage of their patients to function as a monopoly. Second, rapidly approve Me Too products which are similarly approved products. The Me Too product Nexium, for example, was immediately launched by AstraZeneca after the patent on the acid reflux drug Prilosec ran out. Third, insist that clinical trials measure the value and cost of a new drug in terms of quality of life. Finally, make research and development costs transparent and regulate them. I said regulate the price. These are all price control methods currently in full effect among all nations in the Organization for Economic Control nations. The U.S. is the only country in the 34-member Organization for Economic Development, OECD, that does not have some type of prescription drug pricing regulation. This is absurd. Americans should no longer be forced to bear the burden of high-priced prescription drugs. The immediate solution is implementing price controls.